Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons by people who love The Simpsons about how much we hate The Simpsons. We are here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. And as always, my name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And today we have an episode, Jack. I don't know, sometimes we don't do an episode. We do like Butterfinger commercials or just like drawings of characters.
Don't say that because our listeners are gonna actually want us to do that kind of shit.
All right, well maybe we will. We'll see.
That's how Sig Point started.
That's true.
Literally, were just like, well, we'll just watch the Simpsons movie.
Yeah, but anyway, we got an episode today. It's called Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife. It is from season
I thought
17.
They were gonna say This Is Your Life.
No, I didn't. And it originally aired March of 2006.
Wow.
Jack, this episode, have you seen this one, first of all?
I did watch this when it aired. I can't believe it was over 10 years ago.
It was, and this episode notable because it features guest comedian Ricky Gervais from The Office and Extras and all the things Ricky Gervais does. And especially notable because he wrote this episode.
Yeah, this might have been the first time, I don't know, in the run of late 2000s and this decade where they have celebrities come on and pretty much write the episode and be in it. I know Seth Rogen
did it. Yep. We had Judd Apatow wrote that episode we already did.
So I wonder if this might have been the first of those, but I don't know. I'm not some sort of Simpsons expert.
Yeah, we don't really know what we're talking about here. But
I like
Homon. I love Homon.
I don't know what that was. I'm just going to move on before it becomes a thing.
All right. So we're going to take a break and watch Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife in just a moment. If you need to do that, you should do so on simpsonsworld.com, where all of these episodes apparently are streaming if you're in the U.S. If they're not in the U.S., you're out of luck. You've got to have figured it out by now. We're 89 episodes into this.
Put it to the H.
But yeah, we'll talk more about Ricky Gervais. We'll talk about the episode, but we're going to watch it and take a break, and we'll be right back.
Lady, when you go away, I feel like I could die. Not like die like your hair is dyed, but die like Lady Di. And not like die like her name is Di, but die like when she died. Ooh. But lady, just like Lady Di, be my princess tonight, but don't die, don't die.
So that was Take My Wife, Please.
Oh boy, it sure was,
Take
Jack.
that episode, please.
Oh boy.
Put it back where it came from.
Yeah, you did.
Ricky Gervais'
Merry
brain.
old England.
Yes, yeah. But we forgot something at the top of the show.
We forget
Bit of a
it
tradition.
quite often, so yeah.
I think we should say from now on, if we get it right the first time, we should say we forgot to
We
get it wrong.
forgot to forget, yeah.
But no, we forgot to say who suggested this episode.
Yes, so this episode was suggested by listener Zap. So thank you, Zap.
So thank you, Zap. And actually, we had the pleasure of meeting Zap a couple months ago.
We have met Zap. He's been a contestant at Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia.
But he's not from
Zap.
Brooklyn. He traveled quite a ways. He's actually from, I think, in England. Some part of
England.
The United Kingdom.
Wales, maybe? I don't know. Is that part of it, or is that just an animal?
It's a thing. I don't know what a Wales accent
I
is.
mean either. I know. I'm from Wales.
That's it.
That must be it.
I've seen Torchwood. But no, Zap was actually a really nice guy. It was really a pleasure to meet our international fans.
Absolutely.
So this one's for you, Zap. Thanks for the shitty episode.
All right.
Well, maybe it wasn't that bad, but we'll get into that.
We'll definitely get into that.
I think we could say it wasn't our worst episode ever.
I don't know. We'll see what the rankings say, Jack.
The numbers don't lie. So I'm going to throw it to you, Dan. What do you want to do first? You want to do plot recap? Or you want to do that couch gag?
Let's talk about the couch gag real quick first, because this episode has a very inventive, original couch gag where, if you haven't watched the episode, it is live action. We get a live action, very, very British-looking
it's funny,
Simpsons crowd.
We did the research after, and sure enough, it's from Sky.
Yeah, Sky, like one of the big broadcasters in England. They had actually filmed this to promote The Simpsons airing on Sky One, I think.
Great idea for a commercial, but it is funny that not knowing that at all, going in cold, there was just something British, like they had British faces. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, Zap.
What are those ugly mugs if I'm a Briton, eh?
It just looked British. I think also like the
colors
school
and
gave it away. It opens up with obviously with Springfield Elementary, but it is pretty much a shot-for-shot remake of the theme song in live action, which extremely simple idea. And it works. It's great. It's just something we haven't seen before. It's really fun. I remember it was kind of a viral thing.
It was
back in the day.
back in the day, and it was the attention to detail really sold it. Like you had like a pair of twins where Shary and Terry would be, and like the guy kind of looked like Mr. Largo in the music room, and a big fat bald guy is Homer.
Well, I want to talk about that.
They crammed everyone in.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
You would think if you're doing pretty much the first ever live action Simpsons,
Sure.
You would think the casting of Homer Simpson, even if it's for the Sky commercial, Sky's not a small network.
Yeah.
You would think the casting of Homer would be a big deal. I
guess.
I mean, I know BuzzFeed wasn't the Goliath it was in 2006 if it even existed at the time.
It was more of a David, yeah.
But things were fairly going viral by then. You would think there would be some kind of buzz around who's playing live action Homer.
I guess, yeah, but I mean...
Because it's just some guy.
I'm pretty sure this was just something Sky did, and then the Simpsons crew found it and were like, oh, this is great, can we use this? And
I
they
agree.
did.
I'm just surprised even the
I guess.
people watching it on
well,
Sky.
hey, maybe it was. Maybe it was a big deal in England, and they were like, oh, you should get a Benedict Cumberbatch to play Homer Simpson.
Who would make a decent Homer? And I guess I'm being biased because he played Fred Flintstone. But,
John Goodman?
No, Mark Addy.
Oh, that's true.
From Game of Thrones.
You went with the other Simpsons, or the other live-action Flintstones movie.
Viva Rock Vegas.
Yeah, of course. The classic.
He
the
played,
post-classic Flintstones movie.
If you don't know him from that TV sitcom he had on CBS, he also played Robert Baratheon in the first season of Game of Thrones.
the Full Monty.
But he's got a Homer vibe to him.
Yeah,
Not just because he's fat. He has a Homer vibe. John Goodman is more just because he's fat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he played Fred Flintstone and, Dan on
I could see
Roseanne was very Homer-like.
If John Goodman was going to play one Simpsons character, who would you... I'm thinking maybe Barney?
He could be a good Barney.
I mean, it's hard now because now they're all the characters are our age.
Right,
and John Goodman is obviously in his 60s.
Yeah. I think you could still get John Goodman. Barney
Wiggum?
probably doesn't look so good.
He doesn't have the Edward G. Robinson voice.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be tough. Let's just get Tom Hanks
Quimby?
to play everything.
Yeah.
I think that'll work.
Okay, so now let's do a plot recap.
Okay.
If I can remember.
Do we have to, Jack? Can I, if I may, we're going to can we do something a little bit different here? I wrote down just a quick synopsis of how we get to what is the crux of the episode.
Yeah. We gotta come up with a name for this first act non sequitur. It's something a little bit neater than that.
So here's the general progression, the bird's eye overview of what happens.
Okay.
Homer goes to Lenny's party to see a TV, to want a TV, to enter a contest to maybe win a TV, ends up going to the Fox lot in a different state just so he can sign up for a wife-swapping show, and that's when the plot actually begins.
So that's like a pretty stereotypical Simpsons first act non sequitur.
That's pretty far removed, I would say.
So?
That's kind of nutty.
I think we've had this argument a few times. This is classic. Classic Simpsons have been doing this.
I know they've been doing it starts one place and then pivots to another. This is like starting in one place and pivoting 9 times before you actually get there, and none of it makes any sense. Like, it doesn't happen organically. A lot of times when you have, like, The Simpsons are at a swap meet and you find a B Sharps record, that leads into the B Sharps episode. That makes sense. It's logical storytelling. This is just like Homer wants a TV, and then for some reason a British guy falls in love with Marge.
I'm trying to think of I'm going to call them left turns, I guess, for now.
Sure.
These like left turn first acts where there is more than one left turn. And you're right. Usually, I can't really think of any where there's 2 big pivots. I can think of like the Spinal Tap concerts, which leads to Araya, which leads to Otto. But it's still tied in.
I mean, that's still, Bart goes to a rock show, wants to learn to play guitar. Otto's good at guitar. It ends up with Otto living there.
Bart's at a police field trip at the police station, and he finds all the bullhorns, and he puts all the bullhorns together. But he breaks all the glass, and he goes to
prank that Bart does, and that's big enough to get him to go to military school.
All of these like crazy pivots I'm thinking of can still pretty much be described in one sentence, where this can't.
And this is like especially crazy because it's like Homer goes to Lenny's for a party. Okay, great. We've never really seen Lenny at home. Lenny kind of gets a big moment in the spotlight, and then it's Homer refuses to leave his apartment, and he's there for what, like a week, just watching the TV?
Which almost is a story in itself,
It's almost a story in itself, but it's also like completely unbelievable and like wacky, like, oh my God, Homer watches TV for a straight week. Isn't that crazy?
You're right. No, you're right. It's a little much.
It's a little bit much. That's my point.
So the episode opens with them driving to Lenny's party, and Homer says something about being miserable in his marriage, which I guess now that I think about it does tie into the overall plot. Even though you don't really, it's so far removed from the 2 left turns that you don't. I just thought of it just now.
Yeah,
but there is a line
What was the line? Do you remember what it was?
No, I don't remember what he said. He says something about, I just hate being in this miserable marriage that I love being in. Once he realizes Marge is listening onto his inner monologue.
Right.
Wasn't crazy about that because it was just kind of forced. But I did like, he goes, he's trying to change the subject. He goes, I like your hat. And Marge is like, I'm not wearing a hat. And he goes, the hat at the house.
Yeah, I like that too.
That's fine.
That was good, but I don't remember even the throwaway this marriage line, but it's like, is Homer actually not happy with Marge?
Well,
is that what we're supposed to take away from this episode?
The gist of this entire episode seems to be that neither of them are happy with each other. I was going to bring this up at the end because the arc is they realize they are happy with each other, but then it ends pretty much with Marge being miserable again.
Agreed. And we'll get back to the actual plot recap because I do want to do that, but it seems to me like Marge was totally happy with Homer, even at the end when she probably shouldn't be. You know, she's extolling the virtues of Homer to Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
I never got the sense that Marge was unhappy. I never really got the sense that Homer was unhappy because it seemed like...
In this episode or in general?
In this episode I'm talking about. Because it almost seemed like the British wife, I don't even remember what her name was, Verity, I think?
Yeah, it was.
She was in bed talking about how she's never been touched, like she's been alone for a while. It seemed like she was coming on to him.
Yeah, oh my God, she's coming on to him.
Right, and he seems to like back away. It wasn't like, oh, hello, I'm miserable too.
Yeah.
Because
no, he didn't. No,
you're obviously not going to have Homer like cheat on Marge.
No, he was very uncomfortable and he left the room.
Right.
This episode was all over the place in terms of where Homer and Marge were in their.
I think that's the big problem
in their relationships to each other.
Sure.
I guess we should. We only really did talk about the two left turns. I guess just a real quick general plot recap in case you're totally lost. So after all these series of events, Dan said, and they end up on this reality wife swap show.
Mm-hmm.
They swap wives. Marge goes to New Haven, Connecticut.
I think it was New Haven,
with this British family, and they get. The Verity, the British wife, moves in with Homer and Lisa and Bart and Maggie.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's kind of like the Shary Bobbins episode where she's just kind of trying to make them be better. Don't watch TV.
Right.
You do a book report. Clean up
British
after yourselves.
Woman comes in and cleans house.
It's very Shary Bobbins, but that was only a few scenes. Most of it was more Ricky Gervais interacting with Marge, where basically his character, which is pretty much just a mix of Ricky Gervais and David Brent.
Yeah, and apparently he's admitted as much. Like it was intentionally written that way.
Which is fine. I mean, that's what we wanted to say. That's why we signed up for it.
What he's known for.
But he falls in love with Marge, and he tries to seduce her.
Right.
And I guess that's pretty much it. That's the episode. And she pretty much never really falls for it, and we'll get into that as well. But yeah, basically he tries to win her over, he doesn't, and everything goes back to the status quo.
Yeah, pretty much.
But back to this first act,
the
first of the left turns.
Yes.
So yeah, they're driving to Lenny's party. They pull up. Lenny lives in like a nice modern apartment building.
Right.
Sometimes he's married, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's dating Carl's sister.
Sometimes he lives in that shack where like the wall fell down and someone said, "Please don't tell anyone how I live."
Yeah, that's true too.
So Lenny gets around a lot.
Although there's an episode we covered, don't remember which. They've all blurred into one horrible nightmare.
Yep.
But there's an episode where they move in with Lenny because they got kicked out of their house or something. Simpsons.
Did we watch that one?
I'm pretty sure we did.
Oh man, maybe we did. I do remember because we see the
sharing,
highlight court.
Yeah, they're sharing. So they suddenly just start hearing this loud thump, and they look, and apparently Lenny gets They're like, "Oh wow, Lenny, you have such a nice apartment," and it's because he shares a wall with a highlight court.
Right. So the rent was low.
The balls are literally like bouncing off of the bedroom wall, and it's driving them crazy. And I do like the note of continuity here. I don't know which episode came first. I'm assuming this came second.
Yeah.
But I like the continuity that you see the Springfield High next to Lenny's apartment.
Yeah. Apparently that was Helter Shelter, which we did do.
Which is a reality show episode.
Which is a reality show episode.
That's
so that's
weird.
A little bit of continuity between these two.
I was thinking how this episode was just such a mishmash of the Shary Bobbins, of the reality show, of any episode where Marge and Homer don't start falling for somebody else.
Right. A lot of different episodes.
Yeah, and it's funny that both reality shows have this highlight.
Yeah. And I just want to really quickly mention, we said at the top of the show that Ricky Gervais wrote this episode, but looking at the Wikipedia for this episode, he said that that's kind of greatly over-exaggerated. He just pitched the plot and a couple of scenes, presumably the scenes that he's in, and the rest of it was written by the Simpsons staff, which makes sense because I don't see Ricky Gervais writing this first act.
I was thinking that. There's a couple of jokes, which we'll get into as we go scene by scene. I was just like, I wonder if Ricky actually wrote that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's a scene we're going to get into in a few minutes where Dan Castellaneta plays himself. And I was like, that's an interesting choice for Ricky Gervais.
Probably didn't pitch that in the room.
I'm betting he wrote his own song, though.
He
There's
did.
going to be a musical number we'll talk about.
We'll definitely talk about that.
Because he's if you've seen The Office, and he does like to sing, and you know, he's in that fortunate position a comedian can be in, where he's not really good enough to ever have a professional career in music, but he's good enough where now he can kind of do it and play it off as a joke and still be considered separately like good at it.
Yeah, he's you know, it's not like Corey Feldman trying to do music.
Leave Corey alone. The guy's passionate about what he does.
It's true.
God
it's true.
bless
He
him.
is, but...
So they get to Lenny's apartment. We're still in the first 8 seconds of the show.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And Cletus and Brandine. I was thinking Lurleen.
No.
They're outside and they're like, I wish we could go to this fancy party. I guess because you're supposed to think, oh, they're too poor, they can't go to the fancy party. But the reason they really can't go is because they're afraid to use the elevator.
Right, which they say, we's afraid of using the uppity box.
Yeah, this did nothing for me.
Did nothing for me, too, because...
It had nothing to do with anything.
It had nothing to do with anything. I don't think anyone would have assumed Cletus was invited to Lenny's party.
But
the only reason he can't go is because he's afraid of elevators and calls them uppity boxes.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, even just me explaining that, like, there were a lot of steps I had to just say.
No, it's...
Like, there's too much.
I don't mind...
You're shoving in Cletus in a spot he's not organically meant to be.
Exactly. It's the problem is that it's inorganic. I don't mind a Cletus joke if it's funny, where it's just, oh, he's a dumb hillbilly.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously a very easy joke to make.
It
but
is.
if it fits into
but sometimes it works.
Yeah, if the piece fits, fine. But this just stood, stuck out like a sore thumb. I
Agreed.
can't go on the uppity box.
Right. It's just like, oh, he's an idiot, and he calls an elevator an uppity box. That's funny.
Whereas there's a Carl
actually.
joke that immediately follows that, and just like any other Springfield character in these post-classic era, if a character doesn't fit where they belong, even if the joke's funny, it kind of stands out and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So Carl had a line, and it did organically fit in. He's basically, the scene is, it's a adult dinner type party. Yeah. Carl comes in and he goes, all right, Carl's here, party in the house. You know what? I got to work tomorrow. I got to go. Yeah. And that's very relatable. It was a funny line. The Hank Azaria's delivery was great. Yeah. And it was just really funny because that's something we can all relate to. It's like, yeah, I'm tired. I can't stay at this party.
Right. And it made sense. Like, we know, Carl is Lenny's friend. He's obviously going to show up, but he also works at the power plant. He's, we know he has a 9-to-5 job. It's whatever.
And word for word, you could have took that joke and put it in a different scene. So maybe the scene is Homer and Marge are having this argument in the car. And they're driving, and then you drive past Carl, who's on the street. Yeah. And now Carl makes this same joke. Maybe he walks into Moe's or something. So the show does that all the time these days. And now that wouldn't work. It's the exact same joke, word for word, but now it doesn't fit in context of anything else. Yep. That's what this Cletus thing was.
Yeah, agreed.
So it just shows you it's not the joke that's the problem. It's the
the uppity box thing could be funny, but it just came out of nowhere. We're taken out of what the episode was. Homer and Marge going to this party. We haven't seen the party yet, and it's just this random one-off non sequitur line.
There's another line at the party that works great too, where
talk about the celery.
Yeah, Mo is like, oh, you got these fancy angled celery that
they cut the celery on an angle.
Yeah, and he goes, this makes my my straight cut celery look like crap.
Yeah,
and he just throws it on the ground. I was good with this makes it look like crap.
Me too.
And then he overreacts and throws it on the floor, and I was like, okay, that's fine. But the reaction of the part, like everybody just kind of stops and looks awkwardly at Mo. It's a very realistic.
I thought all of that worked really well. That was funny. I laughed, and that was like an iconic Mo type thing. Yeah. Like Mo would flip out over the celery and break stuff.
Again, it's grounded. You have everybody in the party kind of just stops and looks at Mo making a scene just for a second.
Yep.
Now that's an appropriate response to what he just did, as opposed to like the episode we covered the last time where he has a rape cult and nobody even bats an eye.
Yeah.
So you're stopping a party cold because he threw some celery on the ground. Rape cult, fine. Like you could just see the difference.
No one bats an eye at Mo's rape cult.
That's the name of the episode.
There you go.
No, you could just see right there it's context. It's all context. Context is pretty much making or breaking these post-classic episodes.
Yeah, and so many of them just seem like not even joke machines. It's just like scene machines. Like just like we got to do the scene at Lenny's party.
Was it Scene Machine like a '90s like pop punk band?
I think they must have been.
Hello, California, we're Scene Machine, and here's our song. We're putting gears in the box hole.
Yep. How'd that song go again, Jack?
It was actually just a cover of Lay Lady Lay.
There you go.
They parentheses.
We're putting gears in the box hole.
Yeah, and it was just like Lay Lady Lay. Yeah. Putting scene in the box hole.
We're the Scene Machine, and we're here to say we're the rockin'est group in the USA.
Lay Lady Lay.
There you go. It's a pretty good song, actually. I should put that back on my Spotify.
Spoiler alert, we were Scene Machine.
It's true. It was our failed high school band. But we were very big in LA for some reason.
With our Bob Dylan cover.
With our Bob Dylan
That should be
cover.
our Nobel Prize.
That's exactly right. If he doesn't want it, we'll take it.
Hashtag where's We Studios Nobel Prize. Or Peace Prize. Give us the Peace Prize, too.
And that's all one hashtag
All
right
one?
there.
That's under 140 characters.
Yeah, I think we could fit that. All right.
Oh,
so yeah.
Speaking of not a scene machine, but a gag machine, there's a gag where Homer is looking at Lenny's decorations, and Lenny has a fake Newsweek, a fake news.
It says news fake is the title.
One of those gag things. And this is...
He says it's Man of the Year with Lenny's photo.
Because I didn't know Lenny was Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Didn't they do this exact same joke with Bart being the sexiest man alive? And,
yes,
and
World's
Homer,
Greatest Sex Machine.
World's Greatest Sex Machine.
Yeah.
World's Greatest Scene Machine.
That's right.
Which was our follow-up super band when we combined with the members of the Foo Fighters.
That's right. It was, I thought we were going to really take off, but we didn't.
Nobody liked our. We wrote a song for the soundtrack of Vantage Point called "Stop Rewind That," and nobody really. It didn't really take off. We really thought we were going to be the next. What was that one with Slash and?
Audio Galaxy? No, that was
Audio Slave.
Audio Slave. No, that's not
Civilian.
even the one with Slash.
No, the one that did it for Hulk, I think. That's the one I'm directly
I don't
parodying,
even
and
know.
I can't remember.
I don't even
It's like
remember.
Not the Velvet Underground. It's something like that, though.
Oh yeah, it was like your neighbor's home.
It was your neighbor's home with Slash and the members of Stone Temple Pilots. your neighbor's home. The name of the album was Unlock the Door. Collect our mail while we're gone.
To unlock the door before your neighbor gets home. That old classic trope in music.
Please trim the leaves over our fence.
Yeah, of course.
Part 1.
Oh man, it was our concept album. Yeah, I don't remember what the hell we're talking about.
Stop. Rewind that.
Yeah, news fake
So
Man of the Year.
they
Yeah.
did what was the episode where Bart had the world's greatest sex machine?
I don't even remember.
But
It was,
Homer-
Homer was fired from the power plant.
but he
and
thought
was
it was
looking,
real.
Yeah. He thought it was real.
is
And I
the
feel like there was even another time where Flanders had the same type of thing. Where it was like Man of the Year, and he said must have been a crummy year. Oh no, it was like Man of the Century.
Yeah, you're right. When he's visiting.
Yeah, and Homer says like, "Oh, it must have been a lousy century," or
Yeah,
something
when he's
like
visiting
that.
Flanders. Yeah, so
They've definitely done this joke.
and it's not like the type of joke that can be a funny runner, like Bart pranks Bo on the phone. It's not that kind of joke. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's a really specific joke. Homer sees people with Men of the Year photos and always believes it.
I
Very
guess
specific.
if you're on for 30 seasons, you can get away with doing the same joke every 10 seasons. I guess if they did it 3 times,
Yeah.
you're just counting on the fact that your audience has grown up, gotten
All right.
married, and they moved on.
Right.
And it's a whole new generation who's never seen this joke before.
Yeah.
I guess that makes it
All right, so they've used it 3 times. You're on notice, Al Jean.
Season 40.
You can't use it until season 31. Anyway, that leads into another weird kind of joke where they pan over and Homer says, "Oh, I bet you're going to tell me that Lenny never met Woody Woodpecker either." And it's Lenny shaking hands with a Woody Woodpecker costumed character. And then it goes on with Lenny being like, "Oh, I dated her for 3 months, and then she left me for the guy who cleans up vomit." And it's just, none of that did anything for me.
No, if you're gonna do one of these things where it just kind of trails off into its own little non sequitur, at least make it funny.
Yeah, I mean,
there's nothing funny. Ooh, Lenny had carny sex.
Right. There's comedy to be mined with Homer and Marge exploring Lenny's apartment.
Yeah.
And none of this is what I want from that.
No.
Like, I feel like there should be something weird in Lenny's apartment that they could comment on. Like, instead it's just, a photo that Homer's a dumbass for not recognizing what it is, and then this weird story about cleaning up.
Yeah, there's like you said, there's plenty of comedy to be mined. There's a million things you can do with going to your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
That's why there's a whole concept album about
That's exactly right.
So Lenny gives a speech about why he's throwing the party. I guess everybody just showed up at the party not even knowing what the reason was.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that, I think, in the car on the way there. But I actually wrote down what Lenny said. He said he's dying to tell them. Or no, he said he's dying to tell them that he's adopted a new faith in the power of technological advantages to make him happy. He bought a new TV.
Yeah, the joke being it's a bunch of fake outs.
Right.
Did nothing
like
for
he's
me.
going to die, he adopted something, he's changing religions.
Again, that's
He got a
also
TV.
like lazy. To me, that's lazy joke writing. Unless
mean-
you're doing something really specific with it. If the joke itself is just, hey, we faked out. We thought you were going to say this other thing.
Yeah.
That was funny 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
We've moved on comedically. Like, we've talked about like the evolution of comedy before.
Yeah.
Basically, audiences become more advanced as they grow up with certain tropes. They expect now they've kind of such
We're
a part
wise
of
to the fake out.
It's such a part of your comedic language that now it's not a joke anymore. It's basically just English. And you know that's why humor has become more meta because it's built on top of these expectations. And this wasn't meta. This was just.
I almost feel like it was lampshading the fact that they're trying to make a joke or like a series of jokes to hide the fact that it's really just a lazy excuse to get Homer to see an HD TV and like fall in love with an HD
think
TV.
so?
I don't know. Like almost. I'm just saying. Okay, so this, like we said, Lenny's having this party just to show off his new TV. Homer says something, I kind of missed it, and then he basically just does a slow motion jump on the couch.
Yeah,
Do you remember what he said? It was like, something like, you better be careful or I might move in or something like that.
Yeah, and it's just
he's like, I wasn't joking, and then it's just a slow motion dive on the couch.
Showing like Homer is very, very good. And like his superpower is how quickly he can become a couch potato, I guess.
I get that's not bad actually, but it was very, very long. Yeah, I didn't care for that. And then it's just Homer lives with Lenny now and just does nothing but watch HD TV.
For kids, this was a big deal when you got your first HD TV.
Yeah, for sure.
What's interesting is on the TV when Lenny finally reveals his HD TV to the party. Is Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah,
I was going to say Phantom of the Menace. Phantom of the Opera.
I would watch Phantom of the Menace.
That's not like something that you break in an HD high
right.
Something that's pretty much a musical and you could watch it black and white and it wouldn't even be that.
That was
remember
weird.
My cousin Michael, older cousin. He was like 20, 30 years older than me.
Sure.
So when I was a kid, he invited us over to show off his new.
He had a Lenny party.
I don't know if there was even HD yet. There might have been, but basically he was showing us DVDs. We had never seen DVDs before. And he showed us Starship Troopers, and it was a big screen TV. Again, I don't think it was HD, but it was a big screen TV.
But it was probably like letterbox size, like we all have nowadays.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm going to put this specific scene on. He actually had a scene primed from Starship Troopers.
That is dedication.
He used a scene machine.
Of course.
And it was where they're shooting like blue plasma out of their bug butts into space. And it looked amazing. And he was literally like, this is something we'd never seen before. It was just like, holy shit, this looks so much better than normal TV that we've been watching for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
He really went out of his way and made it. And like, Starship Troopers makes sense.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Menace
does not make sense. Not so much. So then we kind of get, not really a montage, but a bunch of scenes of just Homer watching HD TV. He's now firmly on Lenny's couch. He doesn't move.
Yeah, he literally moves in.
There's a scene where Bart and Lisa come over to like bring him home.
Yeah, and they didn't realize that the reason Daddy never came home was because HDTV, and of course they're like, oh, right, of course.
So they sit on the couch and they start watching. And there was this weird scene where Lisa looks out and sees a rainbow, and Homer's like, why would you want to look at a rainbow when on TV there's a dancing cold sore?
Yeah.
That's not a terrible line. The problem is, then we see the dancing cold sore.
I don't need to see an anthropomorphic cold sore.
It was pretty gross, and it went on really, really long. It was like, I'm on your face, ready to break out, and it like sings a song.
Like, that's not Simpsons humor where, isn't it funny? It dance. That's like an Adult Swim or maybe even a Family Guy.
Like, closer to Family Guy, but
isn't it funny? Herpes can talk. This is really funny.
Yeah.
This is worth the 30 seconds.
And it was one of those like voices, like almost like the Leprechaun voice. Like I think it was Dan Castellaneta being like, crimson cold sore.
I mean, it's supposed to be look how cute this herpes cold sore is.
Yeah, and it was just it did nothing for me, and I just didn't know why it was there. Especially because we still haven't gotten to Ricky Gervais yet. Yeah. And we spent an entire act getting there. Yeah, no,
there's definitely there's comedy to be mined from seeing HDTV for the very first time and being sucked in, even something with look at that rainbow. No, look at this, but. It just nothing landed here in this act.
Agreed.
And then what really didn't land, because I don't even know what the point was, is Lenny finally just gets sick of him. Yeah. We never even see Lenny during any of this. All of a sudden, from the party to this moment, we never see Lenny, and then all of a sudden Lenny's like, get out. Again, doesn't really make that's a story we're missing because this is a left turn that should be its own story.
Agreed, and that's a crazy thing. Like Homer's just living with Lenny for like a week. I did kind of like the way that Lenny gets Homer to leave is he just throws lit matches at him.
Yeah, I mean that was
funny.
A bit of a huge stretch.
Just a huge stretch.
The joke was Homer was like, "Oh my god, the flames feel so real."
I know, but the idea that Lenny would just light matches and throw them at his friend.
I think that's how we should start getting Wii Studio guests who linger too long after the recording.
I think that's exactly what we're
start throwing matches at them.
Done. Get ready.
Thanks for being on. Maybe we'll get you on 90s percentile sometime.
Yeah. Not today, though.
I'm going to go on Amazon right now and buy a box of 10,000 matches.
Yeah, there you go. We need a lot.
So buy some stuff on Amazon so we can pay for it.
Absolutely.
That's what we need. When we're talking overhead, we're talking things to kick out our guests.
Matches to light our guests on fire.
We have a whole pulley and boot system right now.
It's very complicated.
The bandwidth is actually very cheap.
It is,
all the money's going towards the kicking people out.
Absolutely.
We built it on hydraulics. We pull a lever and everybody just slides out.
Yeah, we had to replace the solid gold to get all the hydraulics in here, but I think it was worth it in the end because now when Harry Nelson is done, he just drops out of the chute.
we had the blueprints upside down. He actually went out the other way and landed into traffic. It was messy.
It was a mess, but anyway.
So anyway, what I was talking about was the joke that didn't land because I didn't even get it. So Lenny kicks him out. He goes, "That's it, get out." And Homer goes, "Can I at least take a photo with the TV?"
Right, will you at least take a photo of me with the TV? And Lenny's like, "I'm not falling for that again." And then it pans over to a wall of framed photos, at least 10 photos of Homer with Lenny's TV.
What was this?
Then there's a Homer voiceover being like, "So many memories."
Did I miss something? What's going on here?
If you missed it, I missed it because I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
That doesn't register as a thing to me.
I used the metaphor a little while ago about comedy language in terms of jokes we get and we grow up with. If going with this comedy language metaphor, this was a joke that was in like comedy Latin, like comedy Chinese.
Yeah, maybe.
Am I missing the translation?
Here's what I think they were trying to get at is Homer's like, "Oh, can I at least take a picture with it to buy himself time?" And then the joke is he's done this like a bunch of times before. But
that's the only thing I latched onto, yeah.
How does taking a photo of the TV buy you time? Why would they be framed photos on the wall?
I don't know. I don't get it.
It doesn't add up to any amount of scrutiny whatsoever.
We do always have Studio guests trying to linger after the recording going, "Hey, can I just get a picture with the microphones?"
That's true.
We fall for it every time.
Every time, and that's how we get 10-hour episodes.
That's why we need to buy those bulk matches.
We need those matches. So yeah, that was kind of it for the Lenny subplot. Homer does leave. He gets home, and Marge is like, "I've got a way to get a TV," and it's entering a contest.
Yeah, because he's miserable at standard def. So Homer is excited about this contest. I don't know. Next thing I have is the Family Circle gag.
Yeah, Family Circus. Let's talk about that. It's just Homer enters this contest, and that's suddenly 3 weeks later, and he's about to get the phone call saying he won a trip to the Fox lot instead of a television. And he's cutting something out of the newspaper. We see him. He pastes it into a book, and it's the Family Circus. Is it Family Circus?
I was saying Family Circle.
I think it's Family Circus.
I think it's Circus, yeah.
I think it's Family Circus, which, if you don't even know what it is, it's a very, very long-running comic strip done by Bill Keane, I believe. And it's not like the funniest comic strip in the world, but it's definitely long-lived. And the joke is Homer takes it out and puts it in a book, and then he's like, "Oh, that's not that funny." Or no, he says, "I finally got 40 years of the Family Circus in this book that he's just been pasting them into." And then he says, "Oh, wait, this isn't funny," and he throws it into the fire.
Yeah, it's an entire non sequitur story. That's not even part of the first non sequitur act.
So weird.
It's out of basically you just need.
If you want to throw shade at the Family Circus, I'm fine with that.
Go did it in very famous effect with Timothy Oliphant.
It's true, yeah.
Family Circle, by the way, is a magazine my mom had growing up.
Yes,
that's why.
Yeah.
But
there's nothing about newspapers or Family Circus or comic strips or fireplaces or collecting. There's nothing about anything related to this joke.
It would be jarring if all of a sudden you cut to them winning the contest. You need a second or two of something before the phone rings.
This is a fun way to start an episode. Just Homer just burns his Family Circus collection. That's fine.
No, you needed a second or two of Homer doing something for the phone to ring because it is jarring to cut to suddenly the phone ringing. Yeah. You need a second or two. Show The Simpsons, I can't think of any specific examples. The show has hundreds of examples of this where they cut to another scene, there's a second or two of something that's not really related, and then you cut into it. Oh, the mailman's here. Oh, the phone's ringing. Oh, whatever. You didn't need this entire storyline here.
No, it was
to preempt this phone call. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed. And so he gets the phone call and he says, "Did I win the TV?" And they say, "Oh no, nobody wins the TV." Which that's kind of funny that no one wins the grand prize.
I do want to mention, I didn't. Yeah. The Family Circus show, when he goes, it's not funny, throws it in. It wasn't unfunny.
It wasn't unfunny.
It's all context.
It was just weird.
Yeah, it was
just
all
out of place.
It was just misplaced.
Yeah.
So Harry Shearer is doing his whatever voice, his confident generic salesman voice.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you didn't win the TV. You won third place.
Third place, which is a trip to the Fox lot, a tour of the Fox lot. And Homer says, "Oh, all expenses paid." And they're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Which that was somewhat
Fox
funny.
is cheap.
Yeah. So they all get up and go to the Fox lot, which is apparently no big deal now. They just leave Springfield, It's literally a cut to the next scene, and they're at the Fox
So
lot.
now it's a little bit of this amalgam of episodes. Now you're throwing in the Mel Gibson episode where the Simpsons
kind of.
visit a backlot.
Yeah, so they go, and there's kind of just a lot of jokes at Fox's expense. And
Well, there's
a lot
an
of
LA
them,
joke I liked. A kid had a Botox stand instead
Yeah,
of a
that
lemonade
was
stand.
okay. It was
$5.
okay.
But you know why it was okay?
Yeah.
Because it just kind of came and went. It wasn't.
came and
Let's
went.
cut to
Yeah,
the
it wasn't-
Botox and have Mo come up and have a whole
right, and buy it
conversation
and
with
like,
the kid.
oh, this isn't the type of Botox I wanted.
Does this Botox paralyze the entire women's body so that I could rape them while
so
they
they
don't
can go
move?
into my cult, and it'll be great there.
There's also just a ton of reality TV jokes that I was just like,
Yes, tons of them.
Speaking of low-hanging fruit, it's just I'm so sick, especially at this time
Well,
period.
the
Reality TV, that's a thing, huh? Isn't
Right,
it
and it
such
was
terrible TV?
heavily on Fox. Like, this was the time of, like, Joe Millionaire and all that crap.
Look, the
Temptation Island.
TV was so bad. This Joe Millionaire, this Temptation, it was so god awful
Yeah.
that of course you're gonna poke fun. But if everybody's doing it incessantly, it just loses its edge. It loses its sting.
That, and it's also very dated to a specific time, which I don't know. Maybe that's
true. That
just,
too. But
that's just
I think
inherent
it's just
with doing the show.
I think
but,
it's just the fact that everybody's and their mother were making reality TV jokes. It just kind of
Right.
loses any bite.
But Jack, not everyone is doing $1 Million Fart Off, which I laughed at. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, fine. Maybe
Give me my fart off, Jack. Let me have that at the very least.
I'll give you your fart off.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So then Dan Castellaneta does something he's never done in the run of the show, as far as I know.
Yeah, they're on the tour. Right? They're on a little tram going through the lot, and they say, "Oh, look, there's Dan Castellaneta, star of the hit Fox show, The Tracy Ullman Show," which I thought was funny because they're not going to say The Simpsons.
Right.
We're in universe right now.
They could have said the hit cameo appearance as the bystander in the crowd in Space Jam.
They should have said that. But no, it was a funny enough gag. But then it's like, oh, it's Dan Castellaneta and Homer talking to each other. And I don't even remember what Dan Castellaneta
He says,
said.
the guy leans out and says, I forget what Homer says to Dan Castellaneta, but he leans out of the golf cart, the tour cart, to say something to him. And Dan Castellaneta goes, don't lean out of the car, you're going to get hurt. And then Homer goes, I won't get hurt. And then he slams into a statue of
Misha Barton.
Which is also very
also
dated.
very dated, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a really big deal to finally have Dan Castellaneta, voiceover genius, play himself for a scene.
Yeah,
and it didn't,
meeting his most famous creation.
That too, yeah. And it just
It's like Stan Lee meeting Spider-Man,
which he does.
which he has several times, actually.
But if you're going to do that, then it should it should be more of a specific kind of joke or a specific scene with Dan Castellaneta.
Agreed.
Anybody could have said, the security guard could have said, don't stick your head out of the cart.
Right.
And then Homer sticks his head out of the cart, and what do you know? He gets hurt. Like,
Do you think they
not-
tried to get like some actual then Fox celebrity, and they were just like, "Oh, it'd be funny if it was just one of us."
That's interesting. But
It could have been that, but even so, even if it became that, I would still want to up the. If you're going to have Dan Castellaneta, up the comedy a little bit to kind of make it more special.
It is special to have these talented voice actors playing themselves, and it does fit contextually. They're on a Fox backlot.
Yeah.
This is perfect. I like this. But again, the joke was in the scene and the setup was completely undeserving of having a Dan. This is it. This is the one Dan Castellaneta cameo we're ever going to get. And it was, don't stick your head out the cart. Anybody can make that joke.
Anyone could have done that. Agreed.
Ooh, why look, there's Dan Castellaneta from the Tracy Ullman Show.
Hey, funny man, say something funny.
Please don't lean out of the tram, sir. You might get hurt.
Oh, don't lean out of the tram. Ow!
So they go on the. I don't even know how.
Basically, they see the wife swap.
Eventually, they go to wife swap.
They agree to do it.
I think it was called like mom flipping or mother flipping. That's what it was.
Which is fun. You're like, you're mother
That's funny
flipping, like motherfucking. You know.
Yeah, right. We get the joke. So yeah, Homer wanders into mother flipping and is basically just like, oh yeah, let's sign up. That's pretty much it.
Very jerk-ass Homer, but it came and went so quick. How can we even spend time on this? The fact that he would just sign Marge away.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and then we get a scene with Marge, and you and I are avowed Marge fans. I think that's true.
Yep.
We like when they give Marge more to do.
Well, depending on what that more is.
Depending on what that more is. If more to do means having her say, I'll do it literally 10 times, you guys can keep that one.
Yeah, no.
Keep that on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for Marge. She's not an actress.
No, it doesn't make any sense for her character at all. We get that the studio exec might want to do it. He's like, let's do it again. Now say it as if you're
and
angry.
again and
or
again and
whatever.
again
And again and again and again.
Yeah, Marge the housewife. Now I know she did act in theater in Streetcar.
Oh, that's true. I
but
actually didn't think of
Marge
that.
the housewife. Her going, can I do another take? Can I try that another again? That's actor speak. That's not Marge speak.
Right. She immediately was just a different character.
That's breaking voice.
I wrote yeesh in my notes.
Yeesh is accurate.
Yeesh is accurate.
We should add yeesh to the. It should be a hippo-y scale. We should have a yeesh factor for whenever we can't really fit something into any category. We just
the yeesh factor.
1 to 5 on the yeesh scale, and I can dick around for 5 minutes on 1 or 1.5 on the yeesh.
How many e's in that yeesh?
Is it yeesh or is it yes?
Yes.
So anyway, they meet the family. They meet the family they're swapping with.
Yes. And the family is what are their names? The Heath Bar family, which not a great joke. Like the candy.
a Heath Bar, yeah.
Like the candy. And finally, Ricky Gervais comes in. He plays Charlie, but you know what? Let's just call him Ricky Gervais for the rest of the episode because he's playing Ricky Gervais.
RG.
Yeah.
And Homer, so as soon as he starts talking, he's doing his Ricky Gervais bit where he does the, I'm just talking.
Oh, hello, I'm talking and I'll keep rambling a bit.
And then here's another word, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, right, maybe, I don't know.
And then Homer just, with over-explaining, not quite angry whispers to Bart, I think the twist is he's gay.
Yeah, there's no twists in Wife Swap. That's not like a thing.
There is twists in Sharon Coochie's.
There's twists in Sharon Coochie's.
But there's... the twist is optional.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes there's a knuckle.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Cut that.
That's a Seinfeld move. He stole my move.
It's a little knuckle at the end. Yeah, but there's this really belabored scene where Ricky Gervais's wife has tenure at Yale.
Yeah, I have tenure.
And then there's Homer and Bart just saying
picking on
tenure,
her,
and Homer's just I have full tenure, and he just moons everyone.
Yeah, Homer just
Weird.
Homer literally.
What the fuck is that?
There's definitely a classist. There's a class tension,
like an ass to class kind of thing.
There's the core of the Simpsons since season 1, if not the Ullman era, was class tension, which is being a very, very working class family.
Damn those rich people with their big butts.
Exactly, but for Homer to just attack somebody for saying that they have tenure, and he literally just goes at her. And
but is that even the joke? Is it even like a class thing, or is it just tenure is a funny word?
No, I don't think it's a funny word. I think he's.
I agree with you.
I think it's more condescending, ooh, you have tenure. Here's my tenure. Here's my butthole.
That's weird. It's so weird. Mooning someone is not something you'd usually do right up close to them when you then have to have a conversation with them or move in with them
and
for a
it's
period
just
of time.
mean-spirited.
Yeah.
It's ooh, you have tenure.
It was mean-spirited and made no sense.
Here's a joke.
Our worst kind of joke here.
It's not great, but it's something.
Okay.
How about this? Again, a lot of people are going to hate this, but fine. But at least it's not mean-spirited. I have tenure. And then either Homer sets up Bart, or Bart goes, I have tenure. I'm 10 years old. Something like that.
I would say, while you were saying that, I was like, oh, she could say, I have tenure at Yale, and he could be like, I didn't even last 1 year in college.
Yeah, there you
something
go.
like that.
Yeah, something. But just not just attacking her for having tenure.
That's a joke that makes sense in context as opposed to just Homer moons someone again. There was actually a line that I liked. I think it was in this first scene when they're meeting the families, where Lisa is kind of like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And Homer just says TV, basically. He just repeats the word TV over.
And then he calls her TV so.
He calls her TV so, which I didn't think it was funny, but I liked the idea that, we're still kind of tied to this plot about the HDTV. Homer wants to get an HDTV. I guess they're getting paid for this. And
I forgot about that. Yeah, because the money they're getting paid is the exact amount that HDTV costs.
Right, and at the end, they finally get an HDTV in Homer Marge's bedroom. Yeah. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wrote another quick line here. Homer says to Ricky Gervais, "You take forever to say nothing." Hey, so did this episode. Burn.
That was very on the nose too. Of hey, Ricky Gervais, this is your shtick.
Right. I wonder if he wrote that, actually. Do you think?
Maybe.
Could be. If he wrote it, I'm a little more lenient on it.
Do we want to briefly talk just about Ricky Gervais's performance here overall? I like it.
Yeah, sure. I also liked it.
In general, I think Ricky Gervais is a very funny comedian who most of the time I can't stand because he has this tendency to do ain't I a stinker type of humor.
Definitely does.
And I have zero tolerance for that.
You're not a fan of the stinker humor.
When he's naturally just being funny, it's great. But when he's just I'm doing my Ricky Gervais thing.
It's look how funny I am.
I think this is, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation here, but basically once he hosted the Golden Globes, and he was really funny because he didn't really have a filter, and he was saying what people were thinking, and he was calling celebrities on their bullshit.
Right.
That was great.
Yeah.
And then the second Golden Globes, they go, hey, Ricky Gervais is going to tear us a new one. Yeah.
And he's doing whatever he wants.
Yeah. And then he just comes out, and everybody's like, uh-oh, here it comes.
And I think they even cheered him before he even said anything. It's just come on.
Then that just kind of takes away the whole bite. And even worse, again, it's the whole "ain't I a stinker? Look what I'm doing. I'm calling Mel Gibson racist."
Yeah.
Like, it just, I really can't stand that. I can't stand he laughs too hard at his own joke. He's a little full of himself.
I love that you preface this by saying you're a fan.
But I am, because I really think his voice is unique and really funny. He's a great writer. I love The Office. I actually like Extras more.
I was just going to ask, do you like Extras more?
I think Extras is
I do
brilliant.
too. I think Extras is phenomenal.
It's one of the greatest television shows ever made. Extras is great. His movies are all right. The one with the not being able to lie. The Invention of Lying. That's
lying.
a really great idea.
It was a great idea that turned into atheist propaganda so quickly. It reminded me of this
liked.
podcast. By the way, guys, there's no God.
When he gets full of himself, like there's a really great, I forget what it was called, but it was him, Seinfeld, Louis C.K., and Chris Rock literally just talking about comedy.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was an HBO special.
It was on Netflix for a while.
If you can watch it. It's great. They're just talking about the nature of comedy, and Ricky Gervais just laughing at his jokes a little too much, and it was almost like he was so happy to be in the room with these guys, which I could totally relate to, of course. That he almost comes on too strong. So in general, I love the idea of Ricky Gervais. 9 out of 10 times of late, I just can't stand watching him.
He's hit or miss, but in general, I do like him. I think he's made some great things, and I think
he was understated enough in this episode.
In this episode, he's playing to his strengths, I think, and a lot he's good, even if the jokes aren't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would say
not like a Sacha Baron Cohen situation where I love Sacha Baron Cohen, but that episode is terrible and his performance was terrible.
It was unreined. It was too much. They didn't restrain him. And
Exactly.
I think Dan Castellaneta, another genius, who I would like even more. I like even more than Ricky Gervais. He also has the same problem where he kind of just is not self-indulgent. What was what's ours? What did Village Voice call us?
Breathtakingly
self-indulgent.
Yes.
So I know this is the pot calling the kettle self-indulgent here.
Of course.
But this is a problem Dan Castellaneta has, and this is why the Homer riffing goes on forever, and it's terrible. I would say Dan Castellaneta had the Ricky Gervais problem much more in this episode than Ricky Gervais did. Ricky Gervais really did dial it back, or maybe they edited it out. It was definitely not the Sacha Baron Cohen situation.
Agreed.
So I like Ricky Gervais in this.
Yeah, same.
Funny enough, we don't actually. The first scene isn't with him and Marge. The first scene is with
we jump right into Homer and Verity.
Verity, yeah.
And that was the scene we were talking about earlier, where like she's kind of coming on to him and
she's
saying,
in bed, which is also already kind of intimate. The fact that she's in bed, she's on her half of the bed, so it looks like for a second Homer's going to go sleep in the couch, but it looks like she's waiting for Homer to come into the bed, which I think she wanted. Especially because we later find out she sleeps around.
I guess. With Selma, right? Or
with Patty, with the pool boy, with her lover.
Oh, right.
All separate people. And she's pretty much...
That's the twist. They weren't separate people.
She's pretty much coming on to Homer.
Yeah, and it was just, I don't know, man.
So this is where the problem character motivations are, because what's going on
I didn't really
here?
Understand what was happening.
Is Homer kind of unhappy with Marge, and he's going, ooh, I have an alternative here. This is titillating. Ooh, I'm kind of intrigued by this. Maybe I should fuck this British woman in my bed.
We get a lot from the Marge side of things, where Ricky Gervais is falling for Marge, and we see that, and they kind of just pay lip service to the other side of the coin, which is what's happening with Homer and the other woman.
I would argue we don't even see what's going on with Marge. We just see what's going on in Ricky Gervais's head.
Right.
We don't like Marge the entire time. Marge seems to be clueless about him being in love with her. He's just like, oh, Ricky Gervais is a nice man. This is a fun little thing. This is nice. He's a good friend.
Yeah.
We never get any conflict in her mind of, oh, maybe he is better than Homer. Maybe she's very impressed. She's like, oh, so
and
impressed.
She really should have put some thought into that, because the end of the episode makes clear that things are not great at home.
Yeah, no, like she's impressed that he's a manager. She's impressed. He's better than Homer in all these ways, and they're not at all showing us inside Marge's head like, oh, maybe he is better than Homer. We get none of that. There is zero conflict inside Marge. There's zero conflict inside Homer. She comes on to Homer. She's literally sharing her coochie with Homer, and Homer is just like, I gotta go.
Yeah, the episode kind of becomes about Ricky Gervais.
Yeah,
he kind of becomes the protagonist in a way.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, he did write it.
He did write it. I guess
that's why this episode, as much as we've been talking about how much we like Ricky Gervais and the general story was okay, the episode falls completely flat because there is zero character work going on with Homer or Marge.
Right, and it's just like, why do I care about
Or
this?
Verity, because we start off with, again, Verity is unhappy in her marriage. There's something to go with, especially if it's going to be as it pertains to Homer. But then all of a sudden it just turns into Shary Bobbins, where she's just being a strict mother and trying to get them to clean up and do their homework.
And let's think about this for a second with Verity. It ends, the way it ends with her is she runs off with Selma, right?
There's Patty. Patty's a lesbian. Selma has a baby.
Okay.
Selma's the one with the chub jub and.
I can't keep it straight.
I'm pretty sure Patty.
I can't keep it straight anymore.
I'm pretty sure Patty is a lesbian.
Okay, so let's say it's Patty. She runs off with Patty at the end. Wouldn't it have been better if she comes in?
I guess the twist was she's gay.
Okay, that makes me like that line a little bit more.
No, that's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence.
I don't know about that.
No, that's literally 1,000 monkeys in a room typing and eventually getting Macbeth. This is 1,000 Simpsons writers throwing shit at the wall and eventually making a connection.
There could be something to that, and I think it would have been better if the kind of the conflict between her and Homer was she's really uptight or doing the things that she does with Bart and everything, and Homer somehow makes her think that she should live the way she needs to live.
Yeah,
like she should just do what she wants. And then she can, by the way, I'm gay, I'm going out with Patty now.
If that's there, fine. But it's not there.
It's not there. I'm saying if that's what we're going to end with, why don't we seed that in for the rest of the story?
I think it's just an insulting joke like, hey, she's gay. Isn't that crazy?
Well,
gay, that's something shocking, huh?
Yeah, I think that's
all it is.
That's definitely
I
what
had
the payoff
zero
is.
respect for that. So if they did it the way you said it, fine.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They did nothing. She pretty much they drop her whole existential marriage problems, and she just becomes a villain for the Simpsons. She's a Shary Bobbins. There's a Homer. Bart's trying to watch Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah,
it's a French Revolution episode, which we've never seen, and that's a great idea. But why would you do a French Itchy and Scratchy? Usually the Itchy and Scratchy usually it's thematically connected to whatever the episode is.
No idea.
Do a wife swap with the Itchy and Scratchy.
Oh man, that would have been a great idea.
Itchy moves in with the Scratchies, Scratchy moves in with the Itchies.
Right.
Something.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Why French Revolution?
I have no idea, but I did like she yells at Bart for not doing the dishes, and he says, I am doing the dishes, and it pans over to Santa's little helper just licking the dishes, and then Maggie taking them and just throwing them out the mail slot.
And breaking them. Yeah, that was maybe my favorite joke of the episode.
Yeah, I really like that a lot.
It was tight, it was visually, it worked, it was great.
It was quick, it made sense in context, it was everything the other jokes were not.
But basically, I'm just going to call it Shary Bobbins, she makes Bart do a book report on Itchy and Scratchy.
Right.
She makes everybody do book reports on whatever they're watching on TV.
Yeah.
Homer does a CSI Miami book report.
Now, what did you think about that? Because he gets up and he says, there was a murder, I guess, and I think it was in Miami, so CSI Miami has to go investigate. And then a family talked about how much they loved Olive Garden, and then I fell asleep and woke up and Letterman was talking to Alias.
Yeah,
that was the entire essay.
99% of it I didn't like because it was just Homer's dumb. He's just a dumb kid reading a book report like a nervous fourth grader. Isn't that funny how dumb Homer is?
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I did like there is a really long, awkward pause after he says I fell asleep, and then he goes... And then I woke up and Letterman was talking to Alias. For some reason, I actually like that.
You like that?
I'm not saying the end justified the means here.
Right.
I did like that delivery. Overall, I could have done without the whole thing.
I feel like they've definitely done jokes before where Homer calls characters in TV shows by the TV show name.
Yeah, they started doing the Mel Gibson episode.
Yes, it didn't work for me here.
Die Hard. Did Die Hard give up? Or no, did Payback give up?
Quit. Yeah. I don't know why it just didn't work for me here.
Every 10 seasons they can do it.
They're running up on their limit on this one then.
And there's another joke where the cameraman rats out Bart, or Bart tries to ask for help, and he's like, "Come on, man, I let you smoke a cigarette in my bedroom," and the cameraman just goes, "That was a joint, and my name is Doug."
Yeah.
What was that?
That was weird. I don't know. I guess just like cameramen are people too?
I
that
guess.
the joke?
And like, are they trying to be edgy? Like, that wasn't a cigarette, that was a joint.
It was a joint,
weed.
man. I work in the crew and we're all doing drugs all the time.
Yeah. Why does he need to point out that it was a joint?
I have no idea, man.
Don't
really
point
know.
the joint.
Don't point the joint, Bart. Way to be a narc.
Drug dealers are dorks. Don't even talk to them.
Cowabunga.
I like that you tried to high-five me.
I did, and you were not having it. But I also, that was kind of what's happening at the Simpsons house. We cut over to what's going on with Ricky Gervais and Marge. And there was a very Marge line that I really liked. This is probably one of my favorite.
Here's my nipples.
Yep, that was it. And I was like, oh man, Marge's nips. No, Ricky Gervais asks her if she would like to hear a joke. And she says, is it a knock-knock joke? Because I always ruin them by saying, come in.
Great.
Love it. That's so Marge.
They're very Marge.
I laughed.
So, again, in terms of Gervais being good at being Gervais and Gervais also being bad at being Gervais, which sounds ridiculous.
Yep.
I think for the most part, you said his performance was fine even if the jokes weren't there.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, the jokes weren't there. A lot of his shtick, especially early on, was, hey, I'm doing Ricky Gervais, I'm rambling, and I'm adding words here, and I'm explaining the joke, and some people like it.
He's working in his voice.
Yeah, he's doing his voice, and for the most part, that voice wasn't saying anything. It was just there to be there. It was like it was Ricky Gervais doing an impression of Ricky Gervais.
Right.
There was he was doing the style of his speaking, but there was zero substance. Whereas if you watch The Office, we didn't. I mean, yes, a part of it was we'd never seen this style before, but most of it was the things that David Brent was saying was also really funny.
Yeah.
So for the most part, especially when we first start meeting him, and he's just kind of rambling and doing nothing, it didn't work. Now in this joke scene, it does work.
Really quick, just to point out, Ricky Gervais, especially on The Office, that whole cringe comedy thing of him like just going on and kind of digging himself deeper works in the real world setting that was The Office, at least the British Office.
Yeah.
Like we're on The Simpsons where everything's crazy, making up bullshit now.
Well, I'm not even talking about the cringe-worthy element.
I know. I'm just saying
that
like
too.
Ricky Gervais doing Ricky Gervais works less in a less realistic environment.
And I think it has also, like, you can't it's not just the style of jokes. There also has to be jokes you're telling.
Right.
Seinfeld has a very funny delivery. Oh, it's the deal with this. But it's not funny if there's no joke. If he's literally just doing, oh, it's the
He just says,
deal
"What's
with
the deal?"
words. Yeah, if he's just saying
It's not that
words.
funny.
If I'm just saying a sentence, then that's not really funny.
I feel like you turned into Harry Carey a little bit there.
Oh, hey, George.
What's the deal with hot dogs, George?
You want to be my latex salesman? But yeah, it's not. And in the first half of what we see Ricky Gervais doing, it's kind of that. It's almost like, hey, if you don't know who Ricky Gervais is, this is a shtick.
Right. Here's
but
what he
it
is.
really started working for me when he starts telling this joke to Marge.
Right.
Because
Okay.
now it's not
Agreed.
just David Brent voice. It's also it works to what he's saying.
It makes
making
sense,
it funny.
almost that Ain't I a Stinker type thing, where he's telling the joke and like already laughing at the punchline and
exactly.
just like trying to get it out, and it's a long joke. And,
There's meat to it.
There's meat to it, yeah. I mean, the joke is it's an old joke, where a genie comes out and says to a guy, "Whatever you get, your wife gets double." So the last wish is beat me half to death. So the wife gets killed. And he explains that to Marge.
Yeah.
Marge does not find it funny. And he like backtracks immediately into like, oh, spousal abuse, not
See,
funny.
That's why it's funny, because
Yeah,
now
agreed.
he's not
It's
just
a good
speaking
scene.
over himself. He's speaking over himself because he has a character motivation where he's trying to impress Marge, and now he's immediately saying the opposite of what he just said.
It's a scene that works in the scene machine.
Exactly.
There's a beginning to it. There's a build where Ricky Gervais is like waiting for Marge to laugh at the punchline. She does it, and then he has to react to that.
The
It
joke.
makes total
So yeah,
sense.
he rambles and he says the exact opposite. He goes, "Isn't that funny? No, of course not. It's not very funny."
Right.
Where he did that the exact same thing 5 minutes ago, where he goes, "I'm the husband." Oh no, not really. That doesn't work
right.
because there's no motivation
Sure.
there. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But you're saying how the real world setting worked. I had a number of theories on why a lot of the Ricky Gervais fell flat, and I do think I think it turns out to be there was no substance.
Yeah.
But I was also wondering if maybe the animation style doesn't work for it, and I think I'm coming on the side of it actually is one of the reasons it kind of restrained and brought Ricky Gervais in. I think that's I think the animation actually helped
like
him.
he was too reined in, or
No, I think it was
a
kind of.
help.
I think that was actually
maybe.
what kept him understated.
Like he couldn't do so much mugging. Like he likes to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. That could be it. I also really like this another great Marge moment where we see the Ricky Gervais is falling for Marge, and he actually says to the mother flipping cameras, where he says, if she says one more complimentary thing, I think I might just be in love with her. And then Marge pokes her head out and says, I love that your toaster takes bagels. And that's it. That's the
all he needed.
complimentary thing
That's all
that he needed.
But that's great.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was a great line.
We're so in his head. It's great. Why couldn't we be that much in his head with Marge and
Yeah.
Homer?
Yep.
Or at least one of them.
Or like any normal character that's not just the guest star.
Or even Verity. We're never even in her head.
No, never.
Besides that bedroom scene.
Yeah.
Like, why is she trying to correct these people? Why does she want them to do book reports?
She's just a bitch, Jack.
Well, I want to get into that, too, at some point.
Oh, boy.
Why don't we talk about it
Let's
now?
get into it.
So the entire time, Ricky Gervais is just calling his wife flat out a bitch. He's just like, she's such a big bitch. Oh, she's such a bitch.
Yeah,
she's just such a nasty woman. She's just...
Such a nasty woman.
There's
a lot of...
And so, all right. So
there's a lot of anger towards his wife that we don't really understand where it's coming from.
That's it. I mean, part of it is, yes, 10 years ago, we've come a very long way in the last 10 years.
I don't even think it was like appropriate 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, no, yeah, but I do think you got away with it more. Like, only in the last 2-3 years have we finally been making more of an effort to be like, all right, guys, we really don't treat women fairly in pretty much any aspect of anything.
Right.
I'm not talking about pay or anything like that. That's always been around.
Just common
but
decency
just,
on the street.
exactly. Just the way you talk about a woman or to a woman. That's
Right.
only really, like, I think the female Ghostbusters reboot and Hillary Clinton, it's only finally coming to a head now where everything...
I think we just solved feminism.
I think Trump solved feminism by being Trump, and was just, and people are like, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah.
But, honestly, some of the stuff he could have said 5 years ago, it wouldn't have gotten the headlines it got. So I could see how they would
I don't know
get
about
away
that,
with
but
putting this stuff in 2006. Not that I agree with it, but
it comes out of nowhere.
It comes
doesn't-
out of nowhere.
Like we
It's-
don't see
yeah.
we don't see Verity being mean to him.
No,
like
yeah.
he says things, but it's not.
we needed
really
to spend
enough.
time with her, and more importantly, we needed to spend time in her head. You can
Yeah.
be a bitch. You can be an evil character.
Yeah.
Cruella de Vil, great character.
That's right.
The mom, Lucille Bluth, great character.
Yeah.
You can be a bitch, and as long as it's like a fully fleshed out character.
Hello.
I just want to be able to use that phrase on the
that's
show.
how I'm
Was it-
summoned
No,
now.
you're not Beetlejuice.
I might be.
So-
It's showtime.
But yeah, no, you can get away with having bitchy women characters, but yeah, you have to earn it.
Right,
And we
exactly.
have to be in our head and understand why is she being like that. So yeah, it just came out. It came out really strong. Just like, what a bitch! This bitch.
Yeah, and he does it several times throughout the
Yeah,
episode.
it was really
it was
jarring.
jarring every time. Yeah, we get this really weird scene. I'm curious to see what you think about it, Jack. I think it's the beginning of the third act of the episode. Ricky Gervais is trying to seduce Marge. She comes home and he's in a bathrobe, and he says that his son was sent away with the housekeeper.
Yeah.
And we get the scene of the son and the housekeeper at a bar. The housekeeper's Irish, and she likes drinking.
For a second, I thought they were back in England
Yeah,
because it's an Irish bar.
Yeah, right. It's a really, really long scene, and I was kind of like, "This is really tiresome.
The kid's
Why are we wasting so
miserable.
much time?"
The
kid's
the
miserable.
Housekeeper's miserable.
A violinist comes over and plays like an old Irish shanty.
Yeah. And
then
everybody's just the dank.
There was the dank. It was just what is this? But they almost saved it at the end.
Mm-hmm,
It's funny. It's funny. I don't know if it justified this really long scene, but the housekeeper just goes, "That's right. It just gets worse."
Yeah, which is very dark,
Very dark.
true line.
Yeah.
I like that we're kind of just back in the same headspace here because I literally wrote the ends almost justified the means.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Like it was still a little bit too much, but
Yeah.
that was a funny line.
If you can do a line like that, there's hope for these people. They can get all the lines can be good. You just got to try
Yeah.
a little harder. Doomsday it. Put
Yeah.
some context. Don't
Yep.
just have scenes for scene's sake.
Yeah,
Put through the software update on the scene machine. Don't have it running on Snow Leopard.
yeah. No, you got to Jaguar that. Is Jaguar more recent than Snow Leopard?
Yeah, it's very old. No.
Okay, well, get on that Jaguar.
El Cap. No, not El Cap. Sierra. It's up to Sierra.
Okay.
Get that on Sierra. Have Siri. Hey Siri, fix the scene. That's all they need to
I
do.
was waiting for your phone to be like,
I
will
cannot
fix-
do that. I am a
I will
shitty
fix this
AI.
scene.
I'm not a Google assistant.
So it cuts back to Ricky Gervais trying to seduce Marge. Before we even get into the song, I just want to really quickly mention a good visual gag that I did like, where one of the PAs on the show, or the camera guy, holds up a cue card where he'd written, "This guy's what a jerk,"
Yeah.
referring to Ricky Gervais, and the other one immediately holds up one that just says "Don't waste signs."
Yeah, that was very
I
funny.
like that, especially the speed
Also
with which it
interesting
happened.
to see the Chuck Jones, the Wile E. Coyote sign gag without making
Yeah,
any
that's true. I
explicit
didn't even think of
references to it being a sign gag.
Yeah,
It was very
sure.
interesting.
But
I liked it.
But we get this long song. We talked a little
We
bit
get a
about
musical
Ricky
number.
Gervais.
We get a musical number.
We get a musical number.
We didn't hate.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one totally works because it happens. It's totally organic. Like we said before, we like Ricky Gervais. I think this was pretty funny, and he did write this song. It goes on and on about why he loves Marge, and the best parts are when he's saying that she's gonna die, like Lady Di, but not like because she died,
Yeah.
but because she's a princess.
Well, So it's catchy.
Yeah.
The melody is catchy enough.
Yeah.
It's not we put the spring in Springfield, but
Right.
it's catchy enough. You have a decent singer. Again, Ricky Gervais has a voice.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to build a career on it, but as a
Right,
supplement
but
to
this
his
is
career,
enjoyable.
it's fine.
Yeah.
The jokes themselves, like the die, not like Daddy die, that's funny.
Right.
There's a gimmick. There's a reason the song exists in terms of, oh, look at all these homonyms.
Yeah.
It works in the story because he's seducing Marge. All of these things are great compared to most of the musicals we have to roll our eyes and go, oh, this is terrible, because
Right.
most of those, bad singing. It's like talking singing, like
Yeah.
Homer or Julie Kavner. They can't really sing, and they're just kind of talking,
I'd
singing.
rather win a beer than get Father of the Year. I don't
And-
like the Shary Bobbins episode.
And it's more those songs are typically more exposition-y, where it's just like, we're saying what we think, we're using super text.
This is more wordplay and Ricky Gervais in his voice as the comedic persona of Ricky Gervais.
No,
it makes sense. It works.
Yeah, no, the Simpsons, we don't hate musical numbers just because they're musical numbers.
Right. No, I like this one.
You're a big Hamilton fan. You like
love Hamilton.
You like musical numbers.
Absolutely.
You don't have a thing against musicals in general.
Nope.
But yeah, when it's this
Just against Emma Stone.
When it's this talk-singing, exposition-y thing that sticks out and has no real jokes, it's there for this joke's sake, it doesn't work. And these examples are in this episode. The Ricky Gervais song was great. Later in the episode, Homer does his own version of the exact same song, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it just shows you.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Completely
Dan Castellan is
terrible.
not trying to sing. He's doing his awful talk-singing voice. The jokes is super text. It's all on top, and it's a dumb joke. I love my TV, more than my wife.
I could do without Homer singing for the rest of my
forever.
life. Like, I'm done with it. I don't need it ever
There
again.
should be like a Google Chrome extension
that
on
just
your
blocks
TV.
it out.
It's just
a Google Brain extension that just blocks out Homer singing.
Like that John Hamm Black Mirror episode. Where anytime somebody sings, it just becomes black and white static.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just shows you just in one episode how to do a musical number right and how to do a musical number wrong.
Yeah. By the way, that Emma Stone thing I said before, listen to 90s Percentile to figure out why I don't like Emma Stone. You can cut that if you want. I just wanted to get it out there.
Whatever.
And then I like at the very end of the song, he just whispers, "Don't die," because it's so confusing at the end. He doesn't actually want Marge to die, even though he said the word "die" like 12 times.
Maybe my favorite post-classical music number I can think of.
I can't even think of another one that would be up there.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Big fan of it. So now Lisa shows up.
Yeah, well...
Oh, first of all, we should say, again, just to repeat ourselves, Marge charmed by the song, but again, she's not falling. She's not being seduced. She's just like, oh, that was fun.
There was also a weird thing where she was like, oh, you're very nice. I've shown you a decent amount of courtessy, or like the basic amount of courtesy, but I love my husband. I miss my husband. And then it was this strange thing where Ricky Gervais was like, yeah, I miss him too. There's just something about him. I guess it was just a funny joke.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
it felt misplaced in the scene.
It felt misplaced.
A lot of context issues here.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, Marge. None of this matters. Even this nice musical number, because it would have been so much stronger and so much better if there was some conflict in Marge and she was maybe being seduced, and this song was the icing on the cake.
Right.
Something.
And I did like when the crew said, when Marge is talking about Homer, and the crew is like, oh, what a touching, soliloquy she had about her husband. Too bad the camera ran out of film, but I did get the shot of Ricky Gervais saying that his son is a bastard.
Yeah, that was fine.
I liked it.
It was unnecessary for me.
I liked it.
It felt tacked on, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
So Lisa shows up. In Air Force Yum.
Yeah, and she has to like...
Check out our Air Force One Sync Points. Available
now.
Today. Yeah.
WePodcast.com. Yeah, and she has to do like product placement where it's like, it's Bubblicious or whatever, or maybe not Bubblicious because that's a competitor to Bubble Yum.
Yeah.
But whatever it was just whatever.
And then she goes...
I realized there's very little Bart and Lisa in this episode.
Which is fine.
I guess it makes sense because it's about Homer and Marge's
episode.
relationship.
I'm fine with that, yeah.
But we got very little with Verity and the kids.
That would have been interesting if
I would have liked to see more of that.
Especially because technically this was a mom swap show, not a wife swap show.
Yeah, that's true.
That there could have been a very interesting idea in there. Although, again, I guess we did have it already with Shary Bobbins.
True.
But so Ricky Gervais says you're fired, which Apprentice was really big at the time.
Right, and Marge and Lisa do not laugh, and they're like, "Oh, it's like Donald Trump. You don't know him, so
you don't get the joke." Yeah,
and they're like, "We do know him." He's like, "Oh, well, it was really funny." So
that's fine.
It works. I thought it was fine.
To me, it's just really funny that even 12 years ago, 30 years ago in the 80s on sitcoms, there were Donald Trump jokes that took up entire scenes. The guy has been a living joke for 3 decades, and
now
as of this recording,
dangerously close to becoming president.
Extremely close to becoming the most powerful man in the world.
Yeah.
It's just what the fuck? Like, how did that happen?
We'll save that for our political podcast.
How did that happen?
Coming the day after Election Day, called "We Are All Screwed." Let's not get into the dynamics of American politics right now. It's a little bit bigger than the Simpsons podcast.
It's amazing that this guy is retroactively ruining Simpsons episodes from 10 years ago.
Agreed. So we get the scene. Marge is now coming back, and there's a scene where Homer's at home, and he's like, "Oh, Verity's not around. I can finally be me." So he pulls his pants off, and he has pizza taped to his legs. The visual of Homer taping pizza to his legs, I like that.
Yeah.
But what the fuck is he talking about? There was never a scene where she said he can't eat pizza.
I get, she's
I
strict.
get it. I get
and,
that we've seen that she's strict, so it sort of makes sense.
But that fits the Shary Bobbins plot.
But
Doesn't
we
fit
never-
the Verity as the wife.
we
plot.
never really saw a scene where Homer was put upon by this new wife.
Yeah, no.
Like, and he's like, oh, finally I can be me. We've only seen him be him.
And honestly, this whole thing, it felt like there were 30 scenes that in a linear order, and they just kind of picked and chose random scenes to show us.
It's a scene machine. It's not a story beat.
Scene machine needs some tuning up.
You need some oil in that scene machine.
Oil can. It's a talking scene machine.
Oh, okay, good.
Oil can.
They spun for the expensive model.
Yeah, and then it ends.
Well, the one thing that I liked, we talked about Ricky Gervais being really, really cruel to his wife and just saying all these horrible things. The one time I liked it was when he comes in and he's like, where's that soul-sucking whatever? And Homer just goes, do you mean Maggie?
that was funny.
That was funny because why would he beat the baby?
And it's a classic.
His own daughter.
It's a classic, sleight of hand joke.
Yeah, and
misdirection.
that's funny, and it makes sense for Homer's character. Yeah.
And then it's with Homer singing. You think it's to Marge?
Yeah, well, then it kind of ends. Well, because we have Verity leaves with Patty, and Ricky Gervais is just like screwed now.
Yeah.
I guess he's just a single guy again, and it just cuts to Homer singing. We think it's about Marge, but it's actually about the TV. And
I feel like all these plot threads are more like plot balloons, and they all kind of
just start popping.
They drifted away. Like they kind of just. They didn't go like they there was nothing. There was no coherence in this at all.
If you had asked me after the first act what plot threads would get any kind of resolution, I would definitely not have said the HGTV plot thread, but it's the only one that pays off.
Well, you know what else also doesn't tie in at all is the reality TV element. I mean, you have these cameramen, you get some gags with the cameramen, but it doesn't tie into the story at all. It's more just about, here they are with alternate lovers.
Right.
You would think the reality TV, I mean, I know they already did this episode in Helter Skelter, but you would think it would have played somewhat more into it. And also, I was wondering, do you think they picked this so that they could have handheld camera work and be more evocative of The Office, which was very, cinema verite?
Oh, that's a good question.
If that's what they're doing, it's like, hey, we're doing a handheld mockumentary Simpsons. They didn't, but they didn't do that
at all. If there had been more like talking head moments
that's
where we're actually seeing Ricky Gervais, that would have been better.
I know there's a couple of mockumentary episodes we haven't gotten to yet.
But if you have Ricky Gervais writing it, why not have him do some of
and
his trademark
talking
style?
heads would probably be hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
a missed opportunity.
Huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And even for production, just seeing the handheld angles would have been visually more interesting than what we got.
Yeah.
I was really surprised they didn't do this.
I hadn't even thought of it, but now that you pointed it out, it's kind of a big
and
one.
it doesn't tie into anything because they just kind of go home. The show isn't like, you can't leave. There's no conflict.
Right.
The show isn't a villain. The fox isn't a villain.
And then it ends with Homer singing about the TV, and it like cuts over to Marge, and she's just half asleep, and she's like, whatever.
She's not even half asleep. She's miserable. She just looked upset. She seems so unhappy that Homer is just like in love with this TV and not her. And that felt completely out of nowhere because she's literally been, again, it would have helped if we were in her headspace. Her entire trajectory was, I'm with this other man who's not Homer. I wish I was with Homer. I'm back with Homer. And then for one quick second, you end on, I wish I wasn't with Homer. What the fuck is that?
I don't know. It's bleak. It was just bleak.
That's like The Godfather, like being all about how Al Pacino is on this slow journey from going to innocent good guy to becoming his father, becoming an evil criminal.
Yeah.
He literally closes the door on Diane Keaton, saying, "You're not part of this life. I've changed now."
Right.
It would be like then him quickly just opening the door, going, like, never mind.
You're back in.
And then it just cuts to black. Da, 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 da. Like. How ridiculous would that be?
I would like to see that cut of The Godfather.
But like we're laughing at how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this just did.
It is. I mean, it's all over
just
the
as
place.
ridiculous.
I don't know what we're trying to get at here.
You're fired. I was doing Donald Trump, billionaire. If you knew who he was, you'd be dying.
I know who Donald Trump is.
Me too.
I don't think you do. Spot on.
All right, so that is it for Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife from Season 17. It is now time to rank this episode on our patented Hippo scale. We're looking at the humor, the integrity, the production values, and the originality, all on a 0 to 5 scale. So, Jack, kindly put 2 minutes on the clock. There you go. The humor of this episode, 0 to 5. Jack, what are you thinking? 5 being the best, 0 being the worst.
I like the Maggie and dog dishes joke. I like the other Maggie joke. I liked some of the Ricky Gervais stuff. The song was funny.
The song was funny. I was a little bit excited the fact that it was a Ricky Gervais written episode and he's in it. My expectations were a little bit up, and I don't think that they were met. because this was definitely, we've said before, this was not the worst episode we've ever seen. There's much worse episodes out there.
I feel like 2 might be too high.
I was thinking 2 myself. Well,
I'm wavering between 1.5 and 2. 2,
I'm kind of there with you.
I can't think of any really good jokes to keep it up to 2.
I'm going to say 2 based on the strength of the song alone, because I did like the song, and Ricky Gervais's performance, even if his lines weren't great.
The jokes that really fell flat and were really off, usually we get really angry at them, like they were aggressively unfunny.
That's true.
These are
we were more confused by these
exactly.
jokes, and they were just out of place.
I'm more disappointed that they were out of place than angry.
Yeah.
I'm not angry at this episode there's no rant this week.
Yeah, everyone involved could do better. I'm going to give it a 2.
I'll go 2 because just because I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Yeah. It's like my parents to me.
The integrity of this episode, 0 to 5.
What integrity? We don't go into anybody's head.
Yeah,
we're in Ricky Gervais's head. He likes Marge. We're not in Homer's head. We're not in Marge's head.
We're all over the place. I don't really know what anyone really wants, except
Homer.
Marge wants Homer, but then at the end she doesn't.
There's some jerk-ass Homer where he signs her up and swaps her away for TV, and he doesn't like people with tenure. This is low.
I think we're low, but
1?
the question is how low.
It's not a 0.
I was thinking 1, 2. I guess we'll just do 1. We'll just both do 1. I don't like it when we both have the same rating.
Why?
I don't know. We're too much of a hive mind now, Jack.
There's power in the hive.
There's power in the hive. You're right. The Borg resistance is futile.
Buzz.
The humor. We said that already. The production values of the episode.
I wish they did the handheld. I wish they did the talking heads.
But what they did do,
there was some turning to the
terrible.
camera. There was some turning to the camera.
There was. We got that scene before Marge made the comment about the toaster, but that wasn't really.
It needed more
head.
of that, though. That was the whole concept of the episode.
Yeah, I did like how Ricky Gervais was animated. He looked pretty much like David Brent. Maybe a little thinner than David Brent.
Well, this was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Little fat man with a pug-nosed face.
David Bowie, we miss you.
Watch extras. If you haven't watched extras, don't
check
watch new episodes of The Simpsons.
No, don't even listen to this podcast.
There's only like 20 episodes.
Yeah, it's excellent. I don't even think there's even that.
You can't even pick a favorite episode.
I think there's 16 episodes.
Patrick Stewart's amazing.
Yeah.
Ian McKellen's is amazing. Daniel Radcliffe's is amazing.
Fantastic.
There's very few bad episodes, if any.
Yeah. So 5 out of 5 for extras. But what do we got production values for this episode?
2.
I'm going to go right down the middle and do 2.5 because I want to have a different number than you. And also, it wasn't terrible. I did notice like a lot of bland staging in this episode, which it's just kind of a running thing throughout these late
it's a shame.
These late teen Simpsons episodes are very visually boring.
You're animating a show. I'm sure it's a lot easier than it was back in the day.
It got better once it was HD and presumably digital. Because even like an episode like The Man Who Came to Be Dinner is not a good episode, but it looks much better.
I don't even talk about how it looks. I'm talking about using the visual medium to affect your. You can do anything in an animated show. Just think of how many visual gags about The Simpsons. They completely visual. Not even you don't even have to listen. Think of the entire concept of Frinkiac or Ion Springfield, the Tumblr. Mm-hmm. Like just showing a single frame of the show can make you laugh your ass off.
Yeah,
and there's not very little of that in this. You're not using angles. You're not using framing. There's just barely anything here. Especially again, you could have done a whole mockumentary handheld thing here that would have played. I'm thinking of like the Hurricane Nettie. Remember like when he just starts walking through the house and the hallway kind of shrink. Like you can have fun with the medium. Have fun with it. It's The Simpsons. Have fun.
This was not a visually fun episode, but I'm gonna give it middle of the road.
I could go lower. I'm gonna stick with 2.
All right, you may fudge the numbers. We'll see. And the originality, the last one.
Well, originality, first of all, it's not very original. It's the Mel Gibson episode.
It's a combination of a lot
Shary
of episodes.
Bobbins meets Helter Skelter.
But as much as I didn't like the execution, I really like the idea of The Simpsons go on a wife swap show. I don't think they did it well.
Yeah. And I like the idea of a Ricky Gervais.
I love the idea of a Ricky Gervais episode. Some of that is stronger than the other parts of the episode. I think the first act could have used some serious cutting down.
Originality is also structure, and structurally the show is a nightmare. It's floating balloons. It's
I'll
plot
say that
balloons.
I'm not going to go above a 2.5.
Oh no, I think that I as much as I like the Ricky Gervais and the wife swap idea, I think the structure. This is one of the worst structured shows we've covered on this podcast.
Sure.
Like, I'd almost want to give it a 0, if not for the Ricky Gervais and
I
other
can't
stuff.
go that low.
The structure is fundamentally broken.
I want to give it what I think is flawed but interesting, which to me is a 2. I think I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm going to give it a 1.
Okay, so we've crunched our numbers, and Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife, has ranked fairly low, actually.
Yeah, lower than we thought.
Lower than I thought. It's ranked at number 26 on our current list, just above What to Expect When Bart's Expecting, and just below The Musk Who Fell to Earth.
It might
so number 26.
It might seem a little low because, again, we really liked Ricky Gervais. But when you really fuck up the core stuff, it's not splashy. We're not aggressively angry at this episode, but when you fuck up that core stuff, it shows. It shows in the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate this episode. I wanted to like this episode more than I actually did. I think that's the problem. So
we were in nobody's headspace this entire episode. I mean, you can have good jokes, bad jokes. None of that matters if we're just not there.
Yeah.
We're not invested at all.
But guys, thanks for letting us into your headspace by putting earbuds in and listening to the show.
Unless you're listening through a speaker.
In which case, turn down that loud music.
Your neighbors next door are like, we don't want to hear this wee stuff. We're at home.
Absolutely.
Like the song.
But if you have an episode that you want to suggest, you can do that at weepodcast.com. That's weepodcast.com. And while you're there, you can get to all of our past episodes. You can get to our other show, 90s Percentile, which you should check out.
You can get to Sync Points. We've got
Sync
a new one out.
Points. We got a new one out.
Air Force One.
We watched Air Force One.
Harrison
it's currently
Ford
on Hulu.
And Gary Oldman. Yeah.
Listen to us. Watch Air Force One. Watch along with
Harry
us.
Nelson. It's
Harry Nelson,
it's
friend of the
definitely.
show.
It's besides the fact that we could use the $2, it helps us.
Well worth your money.
What do we say it pays for? Oh, the
kicking
out the
matches
guests
and such.
Hydraulics and such. So it does support the show, and we had a lot of fun doing it. You'll have a lot of fun listening.
Absolutely. So check that out at wepodcast.com. And if you want to support the show, you can do that by clicking our Amazon links at wepodcast.com and just shopping on Amazon like you normally would. If that's too much work, you just go to amazon.wepodcast.com.
So simple. It's so simple.
So simple, guys. Christmas is coming up. If you do your Christmas shopping through We on Amazon,
honestly,
that helps us so much.
The Christmas shopping on We that you guys did last year,
that paid for the show.
It really got us through like 6-7 months. Please do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And check us out. Leave us a review on iTunes if you don't want to spend any money, although spend some money. It's Christmas coming up.
Do both. Or Hanukkah.
Do both.
Kwanzaa. Atheism Day.
Boxing Day.
The whole shebang.
The whole gamut of holidays is coming up. So do your shopping.
Veterans Day.
Amazon.wepodcast.com.
Buy stuff for the veterans in your family.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this the day it comes out, I think Simpsons trivia is tonight. We may not. We haven't. I think I said this last time. We have not found a new permanent home for Woohoo Classic Simpsons trivia in Brooklyn. But Google around for Woohoo Classic Simpsons trivia. You can find information about that. I host it with friend of the show, Dan Ozzie. It's a lot of fun. And if you're in the New York area, you should definitely come. But Google around. We have a Facebook group if you find that.
Yeah, it's 2016. You should be able to find anything anywhere.
It's the internet. Just you go on Google and you Google it.
Hey, Google.
It's literally the
do
word.
This for me, please.
You Google it. You know what to do. Next time, we're going to come back with an episode from season 14 called The Bart of War.
Oh.
That sounds interesting.
Sounds like
a Bart episode.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. I was thinking The Bart of Poor.
The
famous book.
It's a play on the famous book, The Bart of Poor, by Hemingway.
By Hemingway, that's right. So check us out when that episode comes out. And in the meantime, wepodcast.com for our old episodes.
And we're going to end the show. We have our final Cut All This submission from our listeners. Hopefully not final ever, but the final one we have for now. And if you are interested in submitting Cut All This, we do still take them from time to time, obviously.
Just make a file, email it to worstepisodepod@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's all. Just send us an email. We'd love it. We love listening to this one. We love listening to our Cut All This. You guys are hilarious in your own right. It's great. It's one of our favorite things of doing this podcast. This particular one is fantastic. So this is Floris and Cynthia. Just take it away, Floris and Cynthia. This is great.
This episode was brought to you by...
Woof, 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 woof.
Alright, cut all this.